Welcome to Fight News Now Extra. My name is John Pollock, and we are coming out of the UFC's return to Chicago from this past Saturday night, as seen on Fox. John Ramdine and Robin Black are both here to chat the highlights from the card and news coming out of the show as we discuss TJ Dillashaw's successful title defense, a women's bantamweight fight, and title implications, as well as more from Saturday night's card. The main event of the UFC on Fox 16 card saw a dominant performance from bantamweight champion TJ Dillashaw as he defended the title for the second time, stopping former champion Barao at the beginning of the fourth round. Dillashaw was at another level in terms of speed, angles, and dynamic footwork, which led to Barao tiring as the fight wore on and unable to match the pace of the champion. Dillashaw let his hands fly at the end of the third round, Barao saved by the bell. However, Dillashaw picked up where he left off at the start of the fourth and was connecting with clean strikes while Barao was against the fence and the fight was stopped. Female bantamweights Miesha Tate and Jessica Eye met in the co-feature, with both fighting for a future title shot. It was Eye getting the better of Tate standing as the fight began, but a key left jab later in the first round for Tate would set up a right hook which rocked Eye, and Tate turning the tide from that point forward. Tate would utilize her improved boxing skills and wrestling ability to control the next two rounds and earn the unanimous decision victory. Dana White stated afterwards that Tate would be next in line to fight for the women's bantamweight gold. And lightweights Edson Barboza and Paul Felder secured Fight of the Night honors on Saturday with their three-round stand-up affair. Early in the fight, Barboza's right eye was hit hard with a left hook, but the combination of Barboza's speed and relentless switch kicks to the body were enough to take the unanimous decision with scores of 29-28 from all three judges. This Saturday, it's UFC 190 on pay-per-view, and we will have a one-hour preview show coming at you Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with John Ramdine, Robin Black, and myself getting you set for all of the action from Rio de Janeiro, headlined by Ronda Rousey and Bethe Correia for the women's bantamweight gold. Well, here are some unfamiliar faces. I mean, we had a week of Robin, we had a week of Ramdine. I was the consistency over the last 2 weeks, but welcome back, guys.
This is always the case.
How, now that the Pan Am Games are over with, what was the experience like?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. It was, very, very different because we're both forced to call individual arts on our own. So calling wrestling, as much as I love wrestling, for 6 hours a day, a little daunting when you don't have a broadcast partner.
Yeah, the job itself was shocking. Like, you would literally be commentating. I commentated hundreds of karate and taekwondo matches, but in that intense of an environment where it's like fight for 8 hours a day, 7 days straight, I really do know a lot more about karate and taekwondo than I used to, and that's really good for my job, and I had fun, and they paid us nice, so it was all pretty thumbs up.
Well, we can certainly talk about the finer elements of TJ Dillashaw's game on Saturday. Woo. I mean, let's give all the credit in the world to Barao. I think he's a top bantamweight.
Yep.
He was not even in the level of TJ Dillashaw. It was two different classes of fighters on Saturday night. TJ Dillashaw is operating at a level that I think only Dominic Cruz in his prime can approach. And I think that's a big question mark when he comes back, having to face someone the level of a TJ Dillashaw. But first of all, his performance on Saturday was just astounding.
Yeah, sensational, because we really got to see what when you have a real athlete like TJ Dillashaw with a real martial arts background like wrestling and the mentality and the work ethic, and you see when, California hotbed, so you're going to get to see a whole bunch of different looks, training at a good team, has an MMA pioneer like Dwayne Ludwig as his coach. You see what's possible in today's modern mixed martial arts world, and if this is a trend that we're going to see moving forward, man, it's going to be a good time for MMA because we're going to see some high-level stuff.
I bet you Robin Black had a cigarette after watching that.
Yeah, that was insane. It really was crazy. It's not that they're two different levels of athlete. They're truly competing in two different sports. Like, the sport TJ Dillashaw is doing looks a lot like MMA, but it is another thing. We've reached a full cycle of evolution in those 14 months. He came in there, sort of him, Dominic Cruz, Frankie Edgar, a few guys were playing the upper reaches of what we called MMA striking, and now he's doing a whole other thing. That game that he played there would beat Dominic Cruz at his best. He has kept getting better. Poor Dominic, who was light years ahead of everybody else, has kept getting his knee surgery. So I don't even know if that's what's going on.
However, we saw Dominic Cruz, how good he looked in his return.
Yes, true.
I mean, he is
But
just
very different circumstances.
I understand that. Yeah.
I just think Dominic Cruz, that's a tall task to.
Sure.
He certainly deserves a title fight. I agree, but if I'm Dominic Cruz, I don't know if I want to be running into the deep end with TJ Dillashaw my first fight back after another torn ACL.
But he doesn't care. He's a champion because I'm actually the real champion. I just happen to give my title away. I'm the man, and I'm going to prove I'm the man because Dominic Cruz, he's very, very confident. And if Dominic Cruz is, if he's healthy and he's ready to go, that is going to be one hell of a fight.
But hey, if you've ever spoken to Bang Ludwig, he's crazy. He's literally crazy, and he's talking 100 miles an hour, and he's looking at 1,000 things at one time. That's how he is, and the way that TJ Dillashaw fights right now looks like the way that Bang Ludwig's brain works. All over the place, has 7 ideas at one time. And that style of fighting, that interpretation of Bang Ludwig's brain combined with all this fighting is way too much for other guys' brains while fighting. And that's the overload. He's overloading the CPU of his opponents. And he's now learned how to introduce full paragraphs to guys, not like one word or one sentence, entire paragraphs, and he's writing them constantly. Guys could spend 2 years getting to where he is now, but he's opened up a whole other thing. It's crazy.
As you look forward to what is next now at that bantamweight division, certainly they were throwing out the Dominic Cruz option. If for whatever reason Dominic Cruz cannot come back within that time, your option kind of comes down to Rafael Assunção, which is a rematch for TJ Dillashaw. Yes. Is there the other argument that should Demetrius Johnson defend his title, that if you're TJ Dillashaw, and more importantly the UFC, that we match these two together, we put it on a Fox card, it's going to help both guys because as talented as both are, neither are the level of star that other champions are. So I feel that is at least a worthwhile discussion should Demetrius Johnson defend his title against John Dodson, because he's in the same boat at flyweight where there aren't a whole lot of challengers, and I think that's a fight that could raise the profile of both guys, and I would put it on network television.
Very, very true, and 100%. I think as hardcore fans, you want to see the best guys match up with the best guys or girls. But I think in this case, well, what happens if one of them loses? Now you kind of do some damage to.
I don't think that damage is there because I think that they're at a certain level where it's like the purists understand how talented these guys are, and I don't think it hurt BJ Penn when he lost to George St. Pierre, and those were massive stars when they fought.
True, but if you remember, a lot of people believe that BJ Penn won that fight.
The first,
the first fight, it was a split decision. The second one, but BJ.
I agree, and I agree that that's good for those guys in the UFC, but I'm a greedy fight analyst who loves the sport deeply, and I want to see TJ Dillashaw fight Frankie Edgar. I want to see Frankie Edgar go down to his natural weight, 135, where he's never fought, and fight TJ Dillashaw. Please do that for me, guys.
All right,
do that for us.
We've just booked TJ Dillashaw's next 4 fights, so there you go. They're all set.
Easy.
Over at UFC headquarters. For Robin Black, John Ramdeen, I'm John Pollock. Stay tuned for more Fight News Now Extra.